This is Artisan from New Truth, and you are listening to the I Am Salt Lake podcast.
Showcasing local talent, professionals, and everyday people making Salt Lake City what it is today. It's time for another episode of the I Am Salt Lake podcast.
Recording out of our brand new studios in beautiful downtown Salt Lake City, welcome to another episode of the I Am Salt Lake podcast. My name is Chris Hollifield. I am the host. This is my show. Welcome to it. IamSaltLake.com is the website where you can find everything podcast related. You can find all the previous episodes. You can download them directly from the website. You can stream them from the website. We have links for iTunes and Stitcher Radio, and I cannot urge you enough to subscribe so you don't miss a single episode. Got a lot of really great guests coming up, a lot of really great shows. And I cannot urge you enough to subscribe so you do not miss a single episode. Hey, I've received a couple of reviews that I just wanted to quickly read. A couple of reviews on iTunes. Really great thing that you could do for podcasts. And I cannot urge you enough that if you like a podcast out there, leave them a review. Not only is it really nice to hear feedback, it also helps out with the ratings for the show, helps it get in front of more people, and thus the podcast grows, and we get more listeners. These are the most recent reviews that I got on iTunes. Quickly wanted to read them. The first one is from Alan Martindale. He writes, "This is my favorite podcast, and I look forward to new episodes like a kid at Christmas. It's great that someone is taking the time to highlight Salt Lake and the people in it. This is a misunderstood city, and Chris does an excellent job of sifting through the crap to give a genuine look of what Salt Lake is really like. It is so interesting to hear the stories of everyday people, from artists and musicians to new media professionals and business owners. This is a great idea for a show, and Chris executes it perfectly. He is a great host and a phenomenal interviewer. I highly recommend subscribing. You'll thank me later." Hey, thanks a lot, Alan, for that review. Really, really neat to hear somebody feeling like it's a kid at Christmas every time a new episode comes out. Means a lot, that review that you left. Thank you so much. Hey, the next one is from He Shot Cyrus. They write, "If I ever move away from Salt Lake, I'm stealing this idea. I Am Salt Lake is one of my favorite podcasts. Chris, the host, always picks interesting subjects and keeps the interviews interesting. I've learned a lot out of my city and the people who make it awesome." Hey, let me tell you what, He Shot Cyrus, if you do ever move away, please steal the idea. Honestly, I Am Salt Lake, it was just a little idea that I had, and it's growing in to this awesome thing that, I cannot tell you how fun it is to see this community grow tighter together with something so simple as a podcast. And I appreciate your words. I'm glad that you like the interviews that I'm doing. I think I've been bringing on some great people on the show, finding out their story. So thank you very much for writing that review on iTunes. Speaking of show, this episode I had the opportunity to sit down with Tyler Lusk from Sound vs. Silence. They are a record label that not only are they based out of Salt Lake City, but they're based out of Seattle as well, so they're combining between the two cities. Really interesting story that Tyler shares with me, kind of how that works with running out of both cities, and kind of how it started here in Salt Lake City and what they're doing with the record label. I play a song at the very end, I Am the Ocean. They are one of the bands that are on the label, so I figured it would be fitting, as per Tyler's request, to play a song at the very end of the show. Hey, speaking of local music, I cannot urge you enough to check out utahmusicians.net. They are local, all local Utah music all the time. You can stream it directly from your internet, your smartphone, utahmusicians.net. They're big supporters of the podcast. We're actually teaming up, and we're going to be doing some really great things here in the city, making Salt Lake City just a little more awesome. Not that it's not awesome enough, but utahmusicians.net, check them out. If you have any feedback, comments, I'd love to hear from you guys. IamSaltLake@gmail.com. The voicemail line is always open at 385-202-5926. Give me a call. Tell me what you think of the show. Love to hear from you guys. If you want to be a guest, I would also love to bring you on. Hey, let's jump into that conversation that I had with Tyler Lusk with Sound vs. Silence. Well, why don't you kind of, introduce yourself kind of in what your role is with the label and kind of what the label's about. Why don't we start there?
Well, my name is Tyler Lusk, and the label Sound vs. Silence was started in 2004, and I am an owner. There's two owners right now at the moment. Me and a guy named Aaron Belessa, and he's in Seattle right now. And then he has a buddy that also helps on his end, named Abe. So me and Aaron are both like co-owners, and then Abe helps us out. And I do multiple duties like manage and do the mail order and work on working with promotions and all that jazz that goes along with the label of sending stuff out. Trying to get reviews, putting stuff up on for digital, stuff like that, working with the pressing facilities. So
because I read, and like you mentioned, one is you have a guy in England even, right?
Well, yeah, our web guy, and he does some other thing, but our web guy, since me and Aaron suck at computer stuff, we have a web guy, and he's based in England. And he does like all of our keeping our updates on our site. And
did you know him at all before, or did you just kind of meet him through the interwebs?
Yeah, we kind of met him. One of the artists, Sean Smith, who's the biggest artist on our label right now, who's based in Seattle. He, this dude Mike in England, who helps us out, he was doing Sean's website for him, and so we got familiar with Mike just from working with Sean and all that. And then, he decided that he wasn't going to do Sean's website anymore. So we asked if he would help out with ours website just to help keep it updated. Because at the time we had this guy named Jeremy, and Jeremy was great and he was helping out, but we kind of felt like we were overloading him with work. So we kind of split it up between the two. And then Mike just kind of became a bigger role and just kind of helping us with the website going, and really just a genius of that stuff. And
remind me who, you might have mentioned it, and I apologize.
Yeah, no worries.
Partner in Seattle, what's his name?
His name is Aaron Belessa.
Okay, so is he kind of whose idea was this? Like, how did it start? Like,
good question. I'll go back is when I moved to Utah. I actually lived in Provo for a short time.
Okay,
but when I moved to Salt Lake in like 2001, it was like right before September 11th. To bring that up, but
so you're an old Provo kid.
I lived there for 6 months.
Okay, because I was gonna say maybe that's where I recognize you.
Well,
from,
I
spent many years down there.
Yeah, were you big in like the music scene and stuff down there?
Yeah, different music scene at that time. I used to be a lot more into hardcore.
I actually played in a hardcore band, and we played a ton with like Parallax and
Blake Donner, an old friend of mine.
Yeah. I was in the band called Truth Be Told, and we played down there all the time. So yeah, but that's back in the days. But anyways, so when we could go off in that direction a ton. But so when I moved to Salt Lake, Aaron became a roommate, and I was friends with his brother, and blah blah blah. We became friends, and we lived together. And then I met this kid named Derek, and Derek owned this label called Brayburn, and we started helping Derek with this radio show called Homegrown. It was a local radio show at 105.7.
Okay.
It was before it became something else. And so we started just kind of helping Derek out doing this, the radio show, this local radio show, like helping bring guests in and going on beer runs for the guys occasionally, and just kind of doing whatever they needed. And then the co-host at the time left, and so me and Aaron became Derek's co-host and just helped run that. And then throughout that time, we'd hear these great local bands, and one of the records that we heard was the Hurricane Dane, the band Hurricane Dane, and I knew the Hurricane Dane guys through Life Over Law. I used to play with those guys a lot, so I knew those guys already. So we just started talking, when we'd be on Sunday nights doing this radio show, about how it would be really cool to start a label or do something and get, just to release music. And so at the time, we decided to do it in like probably about late 2003. We decided to do it, and we brought our friend Corey on also to help do it. So there was 4 of us originally that started. And so in 2004 we started, and then as time went on, the other guys just, unfortunately, sometimes just like in bands, they just don't work out, and sometimes different personalities don't mend, and business ideas don't always work out, unfortunately. So in 2007, I believe, is when me and Aaron just took over, just us two, and then we brought Abe on to help in Seattle. So
with having so many partners in hands in the dish, so to say,
it was a disaster.
Even financial and stuff like that, it would seem like that could be very difficult.
It definitely was.
Especially in the beginning.
Yes.
Just to get a project funded.
Exactly. And that definitely was an issue. Me and Corey kind of helped up the most financially in the beginning. And then, Corey had a lot of financial stuff to come up with personal life and stuff like that, and it just really wasn't working out. And one of the main reasons we brought Corey on is to help with financial stuff. And when it wasn't really working out, and it just seemed like it was more of a almost a hassle on his part. I'm not in a bad way, but he just had so much other stuff going on that it just wasn't really working out. And so, yeah, but financially stuff has always been an issue. And again, with Derek, that was also the thing, is financially, sometimes money's not there that should be there. And, you know, and I'm not accusing anybody of stealing or anything like that. It's just sometimes you do stuff and you're like, oh, why did you spend money on that? Even though in his defense, it could have been for like stuff the label needed, but maybe it wasn't the smartest purchase, you know. But yeah, but you're right. Financial stuff is always a burden with 4 people, and it's definitely run a lot better since me and Aaron have kind of took over. And the great thing about being Aaron is we both, since he lives in Seattle now, is we both kind of work on our own projects. And if there's a project I want to do and we don't have the money, then I'll just ante up and just throw it on my credit card and then slowly just kind of pay myself back.
Pay yourself back.
Yeah.
And
he does the same thing. And like I said, it's really great because we can help each other on projects, but we both kind of stay out of each other's hair and just let each other work from that angle to that angle. And like I said, we're both there to support each other, but, you know, we can both work on our own things and, you know, it's still the same label.
You guys have developed a friendship. Really. Now, what took him to Seattle then?
He's originally from Seattle. He moved up to Utah to go to the U.
Okay.
And so we met through that, and I knew his older brother, and so, you know, when he moved to Utah, he moved in with me, and he's really like one of my best friends. He's like one of the greatest dudes in the whole world. He actually teaches high school, so he has like a legit job, and he's going to be a vice principal. But, you know, so the label's definitely like a passion project for him. So that's what took him to Seattle, as he's originally from there. He just wanted to go back and, you know, be closer to his family, stuff like that. But I mean, like I said, he's like one of my best friends, and so we have a very good, strong relationship. And, you know,
so did you go up to the U then too?
I didn't. I just moved to Salt Lake just for the fun. Just for fun. I'm originally from Rexburg, Idaho.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go.
Yeah,
just
so
to
there wasn't much going on in Rexburg. So
yeah.
I always liked Salt Lake, though, because when I lived in Rexburg, we'd always have to come to Salt Lake to go to any cool shows because no cool bands ever came to Rexburg. So we would always have to make the 4-hour drive. And so I always had a little love for Salt Lake. And when I moved down here, I fell in love with, I mean, the music scene at that time when I moved down was incredible. I mean, you had like bands like Form of Rocket, New Transit Direction, and Kill.
I loved Form of Rocket.
They're ultimately, they're one of my favorite bands of all time.
Yeah.
And I remember the first time I saw them, they were playing with, they were opening for this band called By a Thread, which is a great, like...
By a Thread, yes, I am very familiar with They're from out
yes.
The southern states, I think. No,
I forget.
No, not By a Thread. I know
from Canada.
I know who. Yes. I actually used to be internet buddies with him back in the day, IRC days. Okay,
really?
By a Thread. Yes, I'm very familiar with By a Thread. Okay, anyway, sorry.
No, you're fine. So, anyways, I was talking about Former Rocket. Anyways, I went to a By a Thread show to watch them play, and lo and behold, this little band called Former Rocket got up on stage, and
they blew you away.
Holy crap, man! They blew me away, and that was like the first show. This is when they would probably been a band. Like,
and what year was this? Probably.
This was 2001. So.
Okay.
So, and I saw them play, and and I'd never seen anything like that before. I mean, at that time they were doing hardly any vocal. They didn't even set up microphones. They were just screaming into the audience, and I just had my mind blown. I mean, By a Thread is great, but I could have really cared less about them after watching Former Rocket play. My mind was blown. So when I moved here and was seeing bands like that, I was just like, wow, I mean, this place is incredible. And I can't believe other people aren't seeing this from outside of it. Because at that time, especially, I think there's a great music scene now, but man, those early, like 2001, 2002, you know, those early days of just those incredible bands that were doing just different stuff, you know.
Yeah,
it really impressed me. So.
Really impressed. So, how many releases do you have on the label then? Or a rough idea.
I should have counted this. I think we're close to 30 right now, and not all of those are physical form. Some of those are just digital releases and free downloads and stuff like that.
Well, that's one thing I noticed, because that was actually another thing when I was about 17, 18 years old. So, however many years ago, I actually dabbled in a record label myself. I actually put out a 7-inch record from a band, Harkonnen. I don't know if you're familiar with them. They're actually from up the Seattle way. From what I understand, they have a different singer now than who they had then. And then I was going to put out some stuff but it's expensive.
Yeah,
it is. You know, just to put out the 7-inch record, I think was like I can't even remember the exact number, but that was for a vinyl, right?
Yeah,
you know?
I mean, well, vinyl is one of those great things that will always, it seems like, stay around because it's kind of lasted all the tides and the trends. But man, just the setup fees alone to do a vinyl pressing, I've looked into it, and I mean, you're talking about like $800 or something like that just to do the setup fees, and that's not even like what the record.
So have you guys done any vinyl?
No, I really want to do a vinyl. I just haven't found. It's a commitment. When you're going to do it, I just want to make sure the band's going to be willing to tour and try to sell it, because that's the only way I'm going to make money is by a band going on the road and selling it. And it's, like I said, it's just a commitment to do vinyl. So I just want to make sure that.
So how do you, like, what's your steps to find, like, what makes you decide on a certain band?
To be honest with you, it's usually people we know or someone that we know recommends a band for us. Like with Hurricane Dane, for example, I mean, it's like I was saying, when they came in the studio, we heard the record and we jammed it and we loved it. And that was the first one that we released. With Shelter Red, they're from Portland, and we've released 2 or 3 of their records, actually, one just digitally. But the Hurricane Dane guys, when they were on tour in Portland, they found out about those guys and they brought back demos and we heard them and loved them. And then a few years later, we were releasing their records. And then there's been other bands like 12 Gauge Valentine, who are from, where are they from? Louisiana, I believe, is where they were from. A manager was a friend of a friend, and he threw their demo our way. We loved it, and so we released it. And then they went on to sign a deal with Tooth and Nail and released a record on Tooth and Nail. So, yeah, in the early days, it was just a lot of like people recommending stuff that we should put out. And now, I mean, to be honest with you, now we really just kind of like to work with our friends. I mean, like the Eye in the Ocean guys, those are all people we know. And, you know, Drew obviously synced that band, and we had a relationship with him from Hurricane Dane. So to me, that was a no-brainer of doing that and just releasing that. And then Sean Smith, who is our biggest, the artist that allows us to keep making records. He's from Seattle, and Aaron actually was just a huge fan of him, of Sean, from the Seattle days, and just one day approached him and was like, hey, well, actually, he approached him a few times, but the last time he approached him, he's like, let me release your solo records, let me re-release them. And Sean finally agreed. And I think from our end, it's been fantastic. And I hope on his end, it's been good also. So
does it make you nervous at all? Like, say you're going to put a release out and you're afraid maybe the band's going to break up or something. I mean,
yeah. You know, and that does happen. I mean, there's been great bands that we put out great records, and then like 6 months later, they break up. And I don't know. I've played music, and I understand that that's just the way it is, but it does suck when you sink a financially put money into it, and then it there's not a band to tour on.
So do you still play music then, or no?
I do. I did this band for a while called The Hotness. I actually just ended it. We actually just did our last show in December, but I do this kind of experimental hip hop project called Null Now. I actually just did an opening show for DJ Abilities and Sadistic at the Shred Shed like a week and a half ago, something like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah. So
isn't the Shred Shed great? I love that place.
I love it. And I love Jesse. I mean, like,
yeah,
those dudes are great. And Jesse's worked super hard on that venue, and it's fantastic. And that was my first time playing there since he's opened it. But I had a blast.
Yeah. I mean, it's nice to see so much activity going on musically. And it's nice to see that there could even be such a demand for 2 all ages venues in Salt Lake between Kilby Court and the Shred Shed.
And for sure. I mean,
yeah,
you've been around and going to shows probably for a long time, so you've seen like how quick all ages venues come and go. And just, I mean, I always tell Jesse this. I'm like, hey man, the balls you must have to open up. Have you
had a chance to listen to the interview I did with him?
Yeah, I actually love that.
Okay, that was
probably one of the first ones I
was going to say that was a really neat story to hear kind of the struggles that he went through.
Yeah, and I mean the fact that just getting that place opened was a testament to his character and his strength as just getting it open. And the fact that it's been open for 6 months or something like that, and it's still going. I mean, to me, that's 100% success. Whether it goes under in a year from now or not, it doesn't matter. I think that he set out to a goal and he accomplished it, and it's a tough goal. I mean, luckily Kilby Court is a great venue and has survived all these years, but there's been so many other all ages venues that have just crumbled and gone under, and it's sad, man. I mean, it's just tough to do. It's tough to run an all ages venue. It really is.
And I'm not sure what, if that's more of because it's a Utah thing or if it's just in general.
Yeah, I don't know.
If you could pick any band, like let's say you could just have your choice of a band that you could bring onto the label. Do you have like a dream band? I mean, I guess that's a big question, right? I mean, the Beatles or something.
If Former Rocket had another record in them, I would love to do the Former Rocket record. But since they only do reunion shows, I'm trying to think. Ooh.
Is Former Rocket? They need to do a reunion show.
Yeah, they did one last February.
Did that? Where was I at? Jeez.
I don't know. They did one at Kilby Court and one at Urban Lounge. It was the night after night. I think they both sold out though pretty quick. But it was fantastic, and man, they killed both shows. But I guess the artist right now who I just absolutely love and I think is doing brilliant, and it would be like a dream. I wouldn't. He's doing his own thing, but even to do like a 7-inch or a split or something would probably be POS from Doomtree in like Minneapolis.
Okay, I mean, I'm not familiar with him.
Yeah,
but,
he's like a hip hop dude, but he's I just think everything he does is fantastic, and I think he's always pushing boundaries and smart lyrics, good beats. Just I don't know. Just I think everything he does is very well and always ahead of the curve instead of behind the curve. So
can you get any of your releases in any stores across the United States at all, or is it all mail order? Or?
Yeah, just from our site. And like I said, most of our releases that sell well are up on iTunes and all the digital stores. But we were looking at distribution for the longest time and fought hard, tooth and nail, to try to get in places. And then once the internet started creeping along and that kind of killed a lot of physical distribution, then we just honestly stopped trying because distributors were picking up less and less releases, and it was just tougher to get it in. And so we do, our mail order stuff is actually not too bad. There'll be 2 weeks where I'll get a ton of orders, and then, I'll have a week where I don't get anything. But so
do you take care of most of the mail order out of Salt Lake here?
Yeah, I do 90% of the mail orders from Salt Lake. Occasionally, Aaron will handle a few of them. In Seattle, just when I run out of like Sean stuff, then I'll have to kick an order his way. But for the most part, I handle like 90% of it here.
And by the way, we'll mention the website, and I'll also list it on the IamSaltLake.com website. So if you're listening, check out the website. And can you could probably listen to the bands on the website too. Get a little stream, a little sample.
Yeah. There's links you can check out. Like I said, on the side, there's like little streams, and that's soundvsilence.com.
Okay.
So and
then Facebook. You're on Facebook.
Yeah, we have a Facebook page. We do have a MySpace page. I don't think any of us have checked it. And
well, they got the new MySpace now.
Yeah, I haven't even.
I signed up for it. I haven't really done anything with it, but I'm kind of one of those. Well, if it's there, I better sign up for it. Kind of like when Google Plus,
Yeah.
Well, I better sign up for it.
Does anyone even use Google Plus anymore?
I find more of like the techie, like real technical, nerdy, computery. I actually connect with a lot of podcasters on Google Plus, more of the technical side of people. And they got I don't know if with the last time you were on Google Plus, they have like a lot of communities. They have these like little community groups.
Yeah, I've actually never get on there because my girlfriend was like, "I'm not going to throw you an invite unless you're going to use this." And I said, well, "I'm probably not going to use it." So she never.
I honestly thought it would be the next big thing, and kind of even because the idea is great and I love the interface. Something's going to sneak in and take away a Facebook, but you know what? Without Facebook, where it's really helped a lot. I think it's even helped a lot of people like yourself get their name out there too.
For sure, yeah.
What is like some of the other challenging things with doing a record label? Like, what is some of the things that just get you, just challenges, I guess. I don't know.
I don't want this to sound bad, but like I love musicians and I love artists, man, but sometimes they are definitely pains to work with. And mostly in like a flaky way. And usually with each group, there's usually one person that
who's just not happy or something.
Not happy. Or there's usually one person that handles like all the business and all that stuff, and they're relied on to handle everything. And sometimes it gets tough when there's 4 or 5 dudes and there's one person that has to handle all that stuff, that can just be overwhelming to them. And then, when you're trying to work with that person, things can obviously just drop through the ball, and that's understandable because, there's one person doing the job for this whole entire band, and that happens. I mean, you'd be surprised how many times, the business and promotion and all that stuff is left on one member of the band. And it can get tough, but besides that, financially, that's always an issue, and that's always, like I said, it's always frustrating when you put out an awesome release and the band breaks up like 6 months later or doesn't tour like they said they were going to, and that's happened multiple times. I don't really regret any of the releases we put out because I still think they're fantastic releases and I love everything we put out. But, there's definitely been times where I wish the bands would have had a little more dedication and maybe could have stuck around or tried to make it work and stuff like that.
Yeah. Do you think bands give up too easily? Let their frustrations get in the way, you know, or instead of like just finding a new guitarist, they're like, screw it all and just throw their towel in.
For sure. It's definitely, I do think that is the case sometimes. I also think sometimes that like, sometimes people just go so hard and they, you know, the Lionel is a perfect example, you know, Tate ran Lionel and, you know, he had multiple turnovers in there. And at some point it just gets, you know, man, you get tired of trying to keep putting a new band together when you have people leave and stuff like that and things don't work out. And so I definitely understand that when that happens. You know, and I've been in a band, man. I've had bands break up. I understand sometimes you just can't stand the people that sometimes you play with anymore.
Yeah.
Sometimes it just doesn't work out. And being an artist and playing music, I know the frustrations of being in a band. So I definitely don't take it as personally as probably some people who own a label and has it happen, because I've been in the situations where it's like, this isn't working out. And I'm breaking up, you know, and it's always frustrating. It's frustrating from everyone's end, and it sucks when it happens, but all you can do is say, hey man, we put out a great record, and you know, that's
and it's fun to listen to, you know.
Exactly.
Sometimes it's fun to listen to old material, kind of like we were even talking about some of the first few podcasts that I did. It's like, gosh, you wanted to delete them, but it's like, yeah, it's part of it's history. It's history, and it's how you create it. Now, what about the artwork and stuff? Do the bands just kind of do their own artwork then on the CDs, or do you guys pretty much do that too?
That totally depends on. Usually, when we go a band in the past, how we used to do it, and this model has definitely changed over time, because obviously the whole business is different now. Is when we'd sign a band, we'd usually help them out with some of the mastering costs and the artwork. Now, if the band had a guy in it who was great at the artwork, for example, like I Am the Ocean, you know, Drew does a lot of the artwork. So then we would, you know, just kick a little money extra somewhere else.
Yeah.
But if the band doesn't have anyone who does artwork, then we'd throw the money to an artwork guy to do it, and then they'd work with the band to get something they want. You know, we are usually pretty good about letting the band have their own vision and letting them get their own thing going, and you know, just being we'll pay up to a certain point. You know, if they want to go like super fancy and have an expensive guy do it, then we'll say, here's the cost that we're willing to pay for the artwork, but after that, you know, it's on you for that. So.
Yeah. What do you think like the most like rewarding doing a record label? Like what do you enjoy the most?
It's definitely great when a band does like a CD release show, and people who really love the band get to hold the record the first time, and seeing the looks on the band's face when everything turned out great as far as like the printing and pressing, and it sounds great, and they get to listen to it and they get to own it. I mean, to me that's rewarding, because like I said, I mean, I've been in a band, and it's always great to see your CDs in the hands and then to give it to people and see people love it and listen to it. So really that's I think the most rewarding thing.
Do you think like CDs though are going out at all? Like as far as like, I mean, I didn't even know myself. I don't buy as many CDs as I probably should even. And a lot of that is even convenience. I mean, it's like, gosh, I can get on iTunes. I can go onto Spotify. I could just, even if I want to listen to a specific song, go to YouTube.
Yeah.
I mean, does that get hard and frustrating to you as a label?
For sure. Label? Because, I mean, CDs are definitely, and I hate to say this because I have a big CD collection, and I love CDs, and I think CDs are the best music has ever sounded on a format. And I know people will be like, oh, what about vinyl? And vinyl does sound awesome, but unfortunately...
But again, though, even vinyl, like I'm a vinyl, like I love vinyl, but I think even, not all, necessarily all bands sound that great on like an old Led Zeppelin or an old Black Sabbath or something like that. There's something awesome about it on vinyl.
Yeah, I was talking about that with friends. That's very interesting that you brought that up. Those old recordings on vinyl, for whatever reason, I don't know if they were mainly recorded to tape or what, sound awesome. But the trick with vinyl is you got to have a great stereo system, great speakers, and if you have that, then I will absolutely agree with you. Vinyl is like
which most people don't even have.
Exactly, which people don't have.
They have something to plug their iPhone or their MP3 player in anymore.
So it's unfortunate. I think CDs are kind of going away, because I do think that CDs are the best capture of like sound. And I mean, you could throw a CD in a mediocre car system and it sounds great. So, but at the same time, again, like I have like a million CDs, and trying to haul them around sucks. So it is, I mean, I still buy CDs, but it is definitely decreased a lot over the years, just because it's like, do I really want to haul more CDs around anymore when I can just have them on a hard drive somewhere, you know?
Yeah. But there is something nice about, I was actually just talking this with another band, you know, you get the CD, and if they have the lyrics in it, photos, you could connect a little bit, I think, more
Absolutely.
with the band. Like even this I Am the Ocean CD I'm holding in front of it. It's like I feel a little more connected, through the artwork and whatnot.
And I'm definitely a nerd. Like, I mean, when I buy a CD, I throw it in, and then I'm like scanning through the booklet. I'm like, oh, where did they record this at? Who produced it? Where did they get mixed at? What other cool bands are they thanking in their thank yous?
I love it.
So yeah, I mean, and I love good artwork, man. I love artwork that connects with the music. So that is definitely something that I'm sad to see that is kind of going away. And unfortunately, I don't think a lot of the kids that are coming out now are really
gonna know.
Yeah, they're not gonna be able to appreciate that, and that's just too bad, because that is like growing up, getting a cool album and popping it in and just scamming through like the artwork. I remember getting Rancid albums when I was a kid, and just like they would always put their flyers, like just copy the pictures of their flyers in their albums. Like,
yeah.
And I would just love and be like, oh my gosh, this is so awesome. Like played with all these cool bands, just something so awesome about like really great artwork. And
where do you find, like, I know it's even frustrating for myself to keep up on new music. I mean, do you go to, like, how do you find new music?
I have definitely, I don't want this to sound like I'm old, but I've definitely slowed down on my.
Hey, if anybody's old, here's me.
I bet we're the same age. How old are you?
35.
I'm 35 also.
Okay.
So we're 35 bros. So there we
go. What's up?
What's up? What was I just? Oh, new music. So
you got a little excited about it.
Yeah, I was like, oh, you're the same age as me. We're both,
chest bump, right?
Yeah, I was about ready to throw a high five over the table. But new music, I've definitely slowed down slightly. It's like we were talking about earlier. I find myself nowadays listening to more podcasts almost than I do new music, which is sad because I do love music. But for work, I feel like podcasting my day go by a little bit faster. But new music, I've slowed down on just trying to get so much of it, because there was a few years where I just felt like I got to get this, I got to get this, I got to do this, I got to check out this band, and I just got overwhelmed slightly. Yeah. So now, if I go to a show and I hear a great band, that's awesome. If someone's like, oh man, check out this band, they're great, I'll pick it up. And there's still a lot of, I'd still say I'm slightly more informed on maybe just average people on music, because I go to like, this sounds so trendy, but I go to like Pitchfork and see what they're.
No. I mean, I love Pitchfork.
Yeah,
I mean, and that's why I didn't know if there was any website you went to.
So I checked Pitchfork, and I'm not always on the same page with a lot of stuff they do, but they put a lot of good stuff on there. Yeah. And then I flip through magazines. I still like read reviews in magazines, and like this album got great reviews and stuff like that. So as far as like just. There was a few years where I was just trying to grab everything and consume it all, and I just got slightly overwhelmed with that. So now
let's go back to some of the podcasts. I know we were talking about that before we were recording, and I always like to recommend new podcasts to people. And
by the way, my girlfriend gets so annoyed when I listen to podcasts, but that's okay.
Does she really? And I just put headphones in. Well, she probably just hates it that you.
Well, she just hates that I just giggle by myself and just laugh and just.
Well, what are some of? I know you mentioned you listen to the Joe Rogan podcast. Yeah, what are some of the other podcasts, just for some of the listeners, so maybe they can get some ideas?
So the Rogan podcast, I love. I love a lot of the podcasts on like the Kevin Smith Network.
Yeah.
Like Tell 'em Steve Dave and like Smodcast. Get Up on This, which is also on his, but it's different. That's like a music one. That's actually
I haven't listened to that one.
Yeah, it's called Get Up on This. That's a great podcast. It does like a lot of new music and stuff like that. That's where I hear about a lot of good bands.
Okay.
A lot of the comedian ones, like Bill Burr, I think is hilarious. So I like his podcast. Honestly, this is not just me kissing your ass. I think your podcast is great, and the episodes, I've only listened to about 5 or 6 of them, but I think they're great.
Thank you.
I like what I hear.
I still have a lot of growing to do. I'm still trying to figure out my voice and what I'm doing and what the But
I think you're doing a good job.
I appreciate that.
I think what you're doing for the city as far as introducing people to other people is great. I mean, like I said, you did some great interviews. Like, the Shred interview was great. The one you did with Jerem from Exigent was great. The Atheist interview I really liked a lot. So, I like I said, we talked about it earlier, but just the conversations, you really get to feel like the person you're interviewing. And
even with you, like now it's like I'm gonna walk away and I'm gonna feel like I created a new friend. You know what I mean?
For sure.
And who knows if we would have ever met otherwise?
Maybe not. But now we'll see it at your bar. We'll see each other at the bar. We'll toast.
We'll have a toast and so any other favorite? I mean, it sounds like you listen to probably even a lot of similar podcasts that I listen to.
Yeah.
Just kind of the top. I didn't know if there was any like little secret gems that you.
No, I haven't. You told me about some cool ones earlier, but I'll definitely have to check out. But I definitely kind of stay with more of the main ones because I listen to a lot of them when I'm at my day job, and so that's where I enjoy them the most. Is they make my my day job go by a little bit quicker. So
you should check out too. When I did an interview with Jay Whitaker, the stand-up comedian guy, and he introduced me to the Champs. Have you heard of that?
Yeah.
What attracted me to that one was he's like, oh yeah, there was an interview just up with Too Short, and I was like, oh my gosh, I grew up on Too Short.
So
you know what I mean?
I love Too.
And so it's like an interview with him. Like, come on, I've never, you know what I mean? Like, it seems like so many of the podcasts have the same interviews. You know? It's
exactly.
Like, okay, this week we're talking, you know, all 50 of the main ones are talking to the same guy.
Well, the Champs did one with Jose Canseco.
Yeah.
Also pretty good.
That actually, I haven't listened to that one yet.
That one's pretty good also. But I'll have to listen to the Too Short one because I love Short Dog. So.
Yeah. That was my... What do you think the music industry, I mean, being involved with selling CDs, like the major label music industry side of things, what do you think... What is something you would change if you had an opportunity to change? Or is that kind of a tough question?
That's
or a loaded question.
Well, I think the major labels, I mean, I think they're like on the Titanic just holding on for dear life right now. I mean, they're signing slave deals to bands. I mean, 360 deals. I would not recommend any band out there. I don't care how desperate you are to get a contract. Do not sign a 360 deal. I mean, you're just...
In a 360 deal, what do you mean?
That means the major label gets a piece of everything. Your licensing, your touring, your merch. I mean, everything. Back in the old days, when you released a record, you know, the record label just got a piece of the record sales and that. But now they want a piece of everything. And they're just slave contracts. I mean, I would... For any bands out there, I would do not go with the major label route. So I feel like they're a broken system that's just barely holding on right now. But I mean, perfect example. I mean, Macklemore released his record himself, and I don't know what numbers it is, but it's got to be high. I mean,
and I love Macklemore.
So do I. That album is a fantastic album.
And people need to listen to other songs, but with that thrift store song, I mean, his other music is incredible.
Great. And that's, I mean, I do like that song. It's a fun song.
Oh, no, it is. It's a great song.
But the rest of the album doesn't even really sound like that song, which is great. Yeah. But he released that album on himself, and I mean, he's, you know, that was the...
Isn't he? He's from up in Seattle.
Yeah, he's from Seattle. Yep.
Yeah.
He's from Seattle.
Does your buddy hang out with him? Or
he doesn't. I think he used to saw him quite a bit because he actually told me before he actually blew up. My buddy's like, "Oh, you got to see this dude Macklemore," because you know Macklemore's been doing it for a while now. It's like you got to check him out. And so I was actually late on checking him out until I actually got the album. I'm like, oh, this is awesome.
Yeah, no, I got introduced through that thrift store song. I didn't. Yeah. I never listened otherwise.
Yeah.
To him. So being a business owner, though, okay. So let's jump a little bit. Let's look at what you know as a business.
Okay.
What would you recommend? I mean, there's always, especially here in Salt Lake City, there's a lot of entrepreneurs, a lot of people looking to start up a business. What advice would you give them? What advice would you give somebody who's trying to just generic tidbit pieces of advice that could relate to a lot of people?
I would say, you know, get an idea first, execute small, and, you know, have like a long-term goal, but, you know, do like short-term goals also, and just try not to go too big, too fast, especially if you're doing a label, man. I mean, to be honest with you, times are changing with the recording industry and as far as selling music. I don't even know which direction it's going to take, to be honest with you. So I would just say, try to find, if you're going to do like a record label, do like a niche thing, you know, I don't know, be more.
But not even necessarily, not even just necessarily a record label, as much as like just a business. Here's as far as, because I'm sure you've learned a lot, because I mean it's been quite a few years.
Yes, I would say just try to be your own master, and as far as that means, don't be as independent as you can, and again, you know, go slow. You're gonna make mistakes. You know, you're gonna screw up. That's part of owning anything. That's part of being a band. Part of owning a business. You know, part of everything. You're gonna screw up, but learn from your mistakes. Go slow. Pick your battles wisely as far as going at it, and just, you know, I don't know, ask for advice. Don't be afraid to take advice from smart people. And, you know, if someone smart gives you advice, you should probably listen to them and take them, and just, I don't know, be open to always changing, you know, to mold the times. Don't be hung up on ideas of what, you know, it has to be. It's like, you know, times are always going to change, and you need to adapt and, you know, go with the current and not resist the current. So I don't know if that answered anything. He's down here like, what's going on?
What are some other hobbies and interests that you have? Like, what are some things you enjoy doing besides when you're not busy putting out wonderful, glorious CDs, you know. What are some other things you enjoy doing?
I first and foremost, I do definitely love going to the movies. I love film. I often think that if I wasn't working in music, I would be trying to do something in film. I do love movies a lot, and I enjoy going to the movie theater. Probably the second biggest thing that I do besides, you know, music and, you know, the day job and all that stuff is I've grown a passion for like rescue dogs and rescue animals and stuff like that. So I actually volunteer.
That's right. You work at a shelter.
Yeah, I volunteer at a shelter, the Salt Lake County shelter, and I'm there like every Sunday, you know, letting dogs out, scooping dog poop up and stuff like that. And that's definitely, I've been doing that, working with rescue dogs for about 5 or 6 years now, and that's been definitely become a passion project and something that I love doing. And I have a dog. I share a dog, and this is a funny story. I share a dog with an ex-girlfriend, but I love my dog, Tegan. I love you. But, and she's great. So yeah, just working with dogs, I've definitely loved that. And I feel like it's made an impact on my life as far as like, I got to this weird place a few years ago where I don't know, I just felt like stuff wasn't working, and I just decided to start volunteering there, and it definitely made an impact on my life. And, you know, I think I'm always about trying to make myself a better person. I don't think I'm quite there, but I'm hopefully working on it. So yeah, so I'd say working with dogs and music and going to movies, those, and hanging out with my girlfriend, my lovely girlfriend. You know.
So based off of everything that we've talked about, minus the volunteering at the shelter, what is something else about yourself that people listening probably wouldn't expect? A guilty pleasure, even.
Oh, dude, I have way too many guilty pleasures. But no, I just love this. And for most people, they're not going to be surprised by this, but like I just love cheesy pop songs sometimes.
Yeah.
Like, and
what's your favorite song to belt out in the car when you're by yourself?
I'll be honest with you. When that "Call Me Maybe" song came out last summer, I was all about it. but yeah, man, just cheesy pop songs sometimes just get the best of me. So,
what do you think the greatest movie ever produced was or made?
That's a tough question. I would say that probably my favorite movie is probably Almost Famous by Cameron Crowe.
Love it.
Yeah, I think that's a near perfect movie, and it's one I can always watch. So I'd say that's probably my closest to a favorite movie that I have.
If you could spend the evening with anybody famous, go out for a beer, go out for dinner, who would you like to go out to dinner with?
I don't know if I can name you a few that I would love.
Few. I'm not going to hold you to it,
yeah,
you know.
One would be Ice-T for sure. One would be Jello Biafra and Ian MacKay, or Mackay, however you want to say it.
Yeah.
They'll probably those three, and then I feel like there would be one more person. Those are the three I can think of right now, but I would definitely love to go out and just chat with those guys. And I mean, I love like the old punk history as far as like the, from like 79 to like 80, 88. I love that history. So just to sit down with those guys and just chat about, you know, how that went down. And of course, Ice-T was involved in like, you know, the whole rap thing and start off with gangster rap and all that. So I just think that would be fantastic conversation.
What do you miss most about being a kid?
Just, you know, like you didn't have to worry about anything, you know. It's like I didn't need a cell phone. I didn't need keys to the house. I could just hop on my bike with my friends and just hang out and just, I didn't have to worry about anything. So I definitely miss like that, just the carefreeness. I think now, especially in this day and age, there's so much stuff. I mean, I look at kids now that are just connected to their computers and I feel like they're just missing out. I'm sure when we were kids, I mean, we spent so much time outside and just like playing, and that sounds so cheesy, but just playing. And now I don't even feel like kids do that. So I definitely miss that time where you just go outside and be outside till like, you know, dusk or whatever.
Tag and hide and go seek.
Exactly.
And you know, not worrying. I mean, I don't think your parents worried about you like they do today.
No. I mean, my parents were just like, you know, come home by dinner, and then, but you know, I mean, go out in woods areas, you know, and just have fun.
When you're growing up, what were some of your biggest things that you got in trouble doing?
I don't want this to sound like I was actually a pretty good kid though, so I didn't really get in too much trouble. But I'm trying to think. I always wanted my hair long because I was always into music, and rockers always had their hair long, so I would always flip out. My mom wanted to cut my hair because my mom
I was the same way, right?
Yeah. And my mom's actually a beautician, so she's like, you can't have long hair. That looks bad on me. I'm like, Mom, I just want to be like Bon Jovi. Come on.
Yeah. And what about, did you get your ears pierced and all that
I
too?
actually did. When I was in high school, I had both of them pierced.
Yeah, I was in the same boat. What did you want to be growing up? What did you want to be when you were, like a policeman or a fireman or something?
No, to be honest with you, I've just always, ever since I've fell in love with music, I've always wanted to work with something with music. Like I think music is probably the best and maybe worst thing in my life, just because I've spent so much time following it and trying to work with it. But I love it. Like I wouldn't change anything about my life. Like I think, like, to be honest with you, I've always wanted to do something with music, and thinking of doing something else, maybe besides doing something with dog activism right now. I've never really wanted anything else. So.
Where do you think you would be if music would? I mean, imagine if music would have never been introduced to your life. I mean, where do you think you would be?
It's to even answer that question would be so weird, but probably maybe film, or I try to work in film, or also probably dogs. I feel like the dog thing is something that I got pulled to. It wasn't something I chose. I felt like it was something I kind of got pulled to a little bit. So I feel like probably something along the lines of that. So.
What about Salt Lake City? Let's touch briefly on Salt Lake City while I got you here. I'm always curious to find out what some of your favorite places in Salt Lake City, maybe favorite local restaurants, or what are some of your favorite things about living in Salt Lake City?
This is gonna be honest, I love Salt Lake City. I think Salt Lake City is fantastic. It's like the biggest, or it's like a small city, but it feels like a town, but it's still like a city. And I don't know, I think there's just great people that do great things. I mean, as far as like restaurants, I mean, I love the pie. I mean, it's probably put about 20 pounds on me, but I love the pie. My favorite things about Salt Lake is honestly the people. I mean, you're never gonna find another Jeff Hacker anywhere in the world but in Salt Lake City. So, I mean, he lets me go to his bar and get wild, and whenever I need to do a benefit there or need anything, he's always there to answer his phone. And that's just one example of a great dude in Salt Lake City. There's hundreds of them. I think the people here are just great. I think there's great art. There's great artists. There's great places that, play shows. There's great bars. I mean, Urban Lounge and Bar Deluxe, those are fantastic places to do bars. Like Kilby Court and Bar Deluxe, or Kilby Court and Shred Shed are great local venues. And, there's great places to go see art. I mean, Blonde Grizzly, my friends own that, and that's a fantastic art shop. So it's just, I don't know, the city is definitely alive, and it definitely has like a vibe to it and a culture to it. And I think that's fantastic. And that's my favorite thing about Salt Lake City.
Yeah. Well, let's mention the website. Okay. Anything that you want to promote coming up that you want to mention before we close out here, or anything? I don't know. I mean, where can people find your music?
Yeah. Well, if you just go to soundvssilence.com, so that's soundvsilence.com, we keep the site fairly updated, pretty good. And I just released a free record on there for my project Null. It's free to download from the site. So if you just go to soundvssilence.com, you can download it there. And we're on Twitter. It's at SVSS Records. And then my Twitter is at LuckySVSS. So
cool. So connect with you and you get some of your CDs. I think that's about it. I seriously appreciate you reaching out to me and wanting to come on the show, and hopefully people listening find out about somebody else who virtually Salt Lake City is small, and we don't even know a lot of times who our neighbors are.
Absolutely.
And hopefully I'm giving people an opportunity to get to know their neighbor.
Yeah, I think what you do is great. I think it's fantastic. Like I said, I love the interviews that you do, and I think anyone just in this city that's doing something. I mean, it's like you said. I mean, sometimes you have to just start out doing stuff for free, but anyone who's doing something in a positive direction to let other people know, or helping anybody out, I think is fantastic. And I just think this city is full of great people that are doing great things. And my whole vibe is, it's like we're all a team. So if some person from the team makes it, that's a win for everyone in the team, And that's how I feel about it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Let's play a song. Actually, I'm gonna end the podcast out. What's your favorite song from I Am the Ocean?
Let's do track 3. I can't remember the name on the
Art Apocalypse.
Yeah, let's do that one. So.
All right. Well, we'll end the show out with that. Thank you very much for coming on.
Thank you, sir. That's fantastic.
Absolutely. And you know what? I always tell my guests this, because hopefully, I plan on sticking around long enough. I'd love to kind of bring you back on, and we'll catch up.
Dude,
and
I think we could chat all day.
And talk and maybe talk about some different subject matter.
Yeah, I would love that. I'd absolutely love it.
Everything like that. So thank you very much.
Thank you.